Okay, day 2. Was there any major revelations last night? Is there anything you need to share with where you are in the process?
I feel like I kind of want to be in a place at the moment still where I'm like, it's a little bit hold your nerve and just keep playing.
We generated quite a lot of movement yesterday, which was with this idea of memory and archiving and sound, but we didn't actually work with the sound. I was thinking this morning about getting back into the studio and it making sense, but then also if you fill with too much stuff and you forget about leaving space, I find it loses its clarity a little bit. So sometimes sound can take the space that movement previously was in, and so the two don't necessarily complement each other. So then you have to be a bit more ruthless with cutting back and stripping back, not feeling too attached to something that felt good yesterday.
So I've been working for less than one day and I've had a night to think about it. And we just had a chat in the morning about where they are with it, what thoughts emerged, what their feelings are about the process so far. And I think it's just important to point out that they talked about the need for trust, that in the moment of doubt and anxiety about the work, what brought them back was a trust in the fellow collaborators and reminding themselves that that's a massive part of making the work. But also doubt, it's very real. And you will feel it, and we feel it all of the time when we make work. Someone talked about holding their nerve, reminding themselves to hold their nerve. That's a great piece of advice, because when you're feeling all of that anxiety about the work, your first instinct might be to change it, come in and change it. It's not right. But holding your nerve, it can be crucial. It takes a while for things to settle. And if you felt really strongly about it yesterday, you might find that again in a couple of days' time. While they're getting very excited about all of the ingredients, they're also recognizing that those ingredients will clash and not all of them will make it into the final piece.
I made a dissected version of the interviews. So I just picked out in a really brutal way, like kind of things from the interviews that we did yesterday talking about grandparents and kind of meshed it into a thing that lays over the top. I was excited by the idea of like having the older people talking over the kind of young action of that. I found interesting. So I don't know what the interview thing would be for, so it would be worth you listening to at some point, but I was thinking maybe the mannerisms thing, rather than trying to align that with this interview thing, what if we tried it with some of those like group interviews that we found like on the BBC archive thing?
As a still image, I love the image of an interview, the whole setup.
So we choreographed a sequence of the three of us yesterday, and now we're trying to learn it backwards as if you're pressing rewind on a video to play around with the time and the memory of it.
Yeah. I guess I'm going like, it's really good.
So I'm going up.
We still don't know what that is or where it's going to fit, but we just really like it. So we're facing that challenge.
We trust that it's something, and I think the more that we explore, the more likely we are that we're going to find something for it. But then at the same time, it could disappear. We might spend a good half hour on this now, making this really slick, and then realise that we don't need it. Doing the action of going through that process is going to spawn new ideas, because already Lindsay and Paolo are talking over there about what the next thing could possibly be.
Should we try it with sound over the top?
Yeah. Cool. And a kid walks through, and the kid's like, "Are you God?" And then my granddad just looks down and goes, "Yes."
And then, for her 70th birthday, she got a full drum kit, which she learnt to play, and then she'd accompany local kids who want to play electric guitar.
Where?
Well, she was a music teacher, so
Right.
it's either like at the local school or the...
Sorry, can we work out this bit first? Because we were just going to get stuck otherwise. That, you go off there.
Yeah. You're right.
You go off there.
When I zoned back into the movement and what was happening, it became kind of what if moments that you were exploring. How did you decide how to edit the sound, like which bits to cling on to?
So most of the words that are there are the like responses, because they sounded more authentic rather than us kind of reading a pre-prepared thought. But then aside from that, it was just kind of images that just stood out. There wasn't kind of any rhyme or reason. There's loads that I have cut that are also really lovely.
What would happen if you essentialise the text as well, and that doesn't necessarily have to happen on the computer? Maybe it's pulling certain bits out, certain words, certain poignant moments, because the whole thing is repeated as well, isn't it?
Well, it's literally I just literally stuck it on loop.
Looped it.
But it's which kind of felt like the useful thing to do, seeing as we kind of repeat the thing.
I wasn't really listening to the text either. There were moments where I was like, oh, that falls there. Well, the last time we did it, that fell in a different place and that felt better having fallen there. And I'm trying to decide whether I like that it's all like confusing and then it starts to settle and you start finding detail, or if it's all just too much.
Sometimes when things get too much, it really is, you can't understand it. There's words pinging everywhere.
We can make 15, 20 minutes, do you know what I mean, out of this and 2 minutes 30. I mean, there's even content we've not used, like I've got rid of.
You could expand what you've got for another 20 minutes. I don't advise you to in the time scale that we have, but it would be very interesting to find out what the world is before and what the world might be afterwards. The group working from the images are at a really tricky point now. They've just shown some of the material that they've created. It's lovely, it's really nice, but it could expand, and they need to address focus. They need to work out what they want to keep, where they want their audience to be looking, what they want them to be feeling. They need precision now, because what they've created has this lovely random quality, and it's like things are working, there's fireworks, it's lovely, really lovely. But the task probably feels a little bit daunting. You can see they've sunk a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how they come back. Do they come back thinking, we've got some really exciting work, let's do it, let's get it done? Or are they thinking, this is too big, it's beyond us, we're running out of time? Are they feeling exhausted by the task ahead of them? Because it is a big task. How do they take all of this material and all these ideas and turn it into something small and beautiful? And it's naturally going to involve them throwing away some really good ideas, but also just a lot of work. It's a lot of work involved in actually getting this to where it needs to be.
At the moment, we are just adjusting the lighting to try and get the right kind of environment that we want for the audience to be watching it from. We're just trying to pick out, harking kind of back to the original image of the hand kind of sitting on the side of the sofa.
We wanted to try and find some way of framing the material that we've made yesterday and putting it in some more concrete context for the audience. So we've taken the gestural material that we made from our interviews and we're just trying it out in the space. Thinking about where we're drawing the audience's eye.
I think it's nice that what you have been talking about as interview, which is quite friendly, set up with warmth, this light has made them look quite anonymous, so it looks a little bit more like an interrogation. Also, the silence is really interesting. I don't know whether you're thinking about music here, but I found myself joining in that silence. I was breathing differently because my focus had shifted. It makes your movement, however tiny, quite dynamic.
We have been we've just been trying to explore ways of kind of sticking what we have together. We've gone into this exploration of grandparents, and so it was the idea that we're kind of sitting on at the moment is it's us interrogating ourselves about our grandparents, and Lindsay's gone away to record a kind of stream of consciousness of her talking about her grandmother, which is going to play over this. So we don't know how those two are going to merge up yet.
I just went outside and recorded like 2 minutes of me just talking about my grandmother as a stream of consciousness, as a way of just having a little bit more audio that we can play around with for stiller moments. We've got a lot of cacophony and a lot of layered and multiple voices, and we thought it'd be fun to play around with just having a solo voice.
14. I think she met my grandfather when she was 14. We have a pencil case of hers from when she was at school that says,
We haven't got time. Let's try this with the movement.
"I on it."